Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe. Share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. We are now on the other side of the Night of Champions, the Ring 4 card. Great live last night with myself, Danny Glover, October Red in spirit. Shout out to Danny for holding down the fort when I had to dip off a couple times to sort out other, sort of other business. But yeah, it went off seamlessly, quite smoothly. So I do imagine that we will be doing more collaborations between us rather than all doing our individual streams. So yeah, I guess we'll sort of see when the next one can be done. It more than likely will be UK based to accommodate October's schedule. But yeah, no, I appreciate everyone that did tune in. One of my highest watched lives for a while. I think I'm sitting on around 800 to 900 views, not including obviously what was on X at the moment. I think Red must be on about nearly 2,200 views, something like that. I'm not sure what Fight Fans views are, but the metrics should be good between all three of us. So yeah, long may it continue. Quick thoughts on the card as a whole. Actually no, before I get there, I want to give a shout out to Guadalupe Medina, who got her third stoppage last night on the UFC Fight Pass card that was headlined by Mizuki Hiruta. As you guys know, she's been on the channel a couple times, had a couple of interviews. There's a great personable young lady, very good skills, and yep, she looks like she's growing into the power and developing nicely. So just want to give her a quick shout out as well. But yeah, look, talking about the card last night, I won't really go into Melnicki and Moa. I didn't watch the fight as a whole. I was just sort of watching bits and pieces here and there. Myself and Danny Glover were talking throughout kind of the first half of that fight, but it was what it was. I think Melnicki got a stoppage victory. I think it was in the 12th round, even though I think Namoa was quite unhappy that occurred. I think he wanted to carry on. I think he was still okay in the moment, but yeah, I mean, it was a bad knockdown. So I think that yeah, you could give the license to say fight. It was fine to stop it. I didn't have any real complaints with it. I know that Amar wanted to carry on, but them's the breaks, and that one was one that I can say I probably agreed with. Then we had Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes. Now I need to apologize. In my predictions video, for some mad reason, I said that Sam Noakes and Sean Noakes, his brother, were from Stoke. They are not from Stoke, they're from Maidstone. I think I was getting confused because when they was at the weigh-ins before I actually started doing the video, they was like saying, oh, up the Stones and up the Stokes. But the way they were saying it, I think it sounded like they were saying Stoke. But I was listening, I'm like, wait a minute, but they ain't got no Stoke accent. But yeah, I was tired. It was one of those ones, I was doing it late, rushing around, and then I just made that error. So I wanted to just kind of correct that. No, Maidstone from Kent, from it's about 45-50 minutes or down the road driving. So yeah, just wanted to kind of put that out there. But ultimately, it was a fight that I believe was very clear. It was a very it wasn't one-sided at all, but I feel like it was a very clear fight as to who won. For me, I had it 117-111 to Abdullah Mason. And one of the things about that I didn't quite understand in the fight, Abdullah was sort of trying to show obviously skills on the inside, boxing well, shooting the long range shots, shooting the shots to the body. But Noakes was obviously being a lot more like gritty, dirty. He was definitely acting more like a pub brawler in that fight. And I think the tactics were, this guy is a young guy, 21. He hasn't really experienced life. Let me drag him into the wars that I'm allowed to within the rules without getting myself disqualified, and see if he can keep his construct. There was multiple times where Sam Noakes would be using a forearm to basically push into Mason's throat, or he'd have his head very, very close to the bottom of his chin, almost dipping or sort of tucking in and pushing off, like really into the corner, like hitting and holding, trying to grab him, push him towards the ropes, to just being really sort of dirty. Now I don't know how many of those rounds the judges gave to him, because obviously I do know that two of the judges had it 115, 113, and then the other judge obviously had it like me, 117, 111. But it was a very competitive fight. It showed both guys what they need to work on moving forward. Mason probably needs to work on like not selling out in the pocket to for the sake of trying to either get the person out of there or for the sake of entertainment. Noakes needs to tidy up on trying to use his jab a lot more, probably trying to find a more safe and smart way to enter the pocket, and then when he's in the pocket, do work that isn't sort of smothered and is easily visible to judges, because I feel like there was times that he did some good stuff, but because he's so close, you can't really see that he's actually doing decent work. Whereas everything sort of Abdullah Mason did was strategic, it was well placed, and it was quite clear to see. So I think that's what created the clear separation between the two. I think stylistically and technique wise, purely, Mason is just a level above, but Noakes has those intangibles that sometimes you just can't teach, you can't train. They're just inherently in you. Plus, him being 28 years old, he's definitely had a lot more life experience. And as I kind of said on the stream, I wouldn't be surprised if he's been in a few of those pub crawls that turn into pub brawls, and some of the stuff on the cobbles where you tactically goes out the window and you just find a way to grit it out. So, plus the fact, obviously, he had been the guy that had been the rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds, whereas Abdullah Mason had never been past 6 rounds before. So it was very interesting to see, would he be able to stay in character after round 6, and to his credit, he did. It was a masterful performance by him. It was a really gutsy, well thought performance by Sam Noakes. Both guys have still got a lot to learn and a lot to work on, but sometimes it's best when you get these guys who are fighting for championships and stuff, whereby you can kind of see that they're just not necessarily at that level, and that's where you kind of say, all right, cool, there's a lot to build on, but the rawness is what makes a fight exciting. Sometimes when the guys are too polished, you can kind of get lost a little bit in that you know, the fact that they're now seasoned and they know what to do in every situation. Sometimes you just want a little bit of a car crash, and that's kind of what we got, to a small level. But big ups to both guys. Bam Rodriguez, Puma Martinez, I thought that was another really well contested fight. While I had said, look, Bama's got the skills on deck, but Puma's basically got that, he's got the ability to be able to drag people into a fight they don't want to be in. And if Bam decides that he's going to basically sit and prove that toughness with Puma, that's where the issues are going to be. Now, to his credit, Bam didn't really allow that. Puma was, he definitely tried to be rough, he tried to be rugged, he tried to throw in combinations, but Bam kept the guard up. He kept spinning off of those angles from that southpaw stance. It was a lot of good work, and yeah, ultimately we can just say, look, we've got a real one there. Bam has got 3 of the belts plus the Ring Magazine belt. He wants the last to complete the collection. That will be contested next month, and I'm assuming he will definitely go for that fight if Kenshiro Taraji wins. So I guess we just have to wait and see sort of how that one plays out. But congratulations to Bam, and well done to Puma as well for making a big show of it. Next, we got Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. Now, going into this one, Brian Norman, I believe, was the favorite. A lot of people had him winning, you know, saying, well, look, if you got touched up by Ryan Garcia the way that you did, how are you going to be able to deal with someone like Brian Norman, who's younger, stronger, natural at the weight, all that sort of stuff? I predicted that Devin would win a unanimous points decision. I said that it would be quite a comfortable fight. You know, I feel like I said maybe there might be 1 or 2 moments he's going to have to navigate, but ultimately class will show and class will prevail. I did not expect him to actually start the fight the way he did for a second round. A lot of people don't even notice. Devin hit Brian Norman with a left hook in the second that wobbled him like sharply, like at the towards the start of the round. Most people didn't even really clock that shot initially. They only clocked when the second left hook came in, when it was posted up by the there was a no, sorry, there was an additional left hook. Then that was the one that really sort of stunned Brian. That's the one that people kind of noticed. Then there was another left hook that came round the side of the guard, followed by the straight right, which put Brian Norman down on the ground. I didn't expect to see that kind of works from so early. But having said that, he did the same thing with Regis Prograis. So it's not to say that he definitely doesn't have those abilities to knock someone down or gain their respect. He went for it after that a little bit. Norman tried to hold. He tried to sort of smother, but he did. I think he did throw a left hook in there afterwards that kind of allowed basically Norman to feel like, okay, I can still kind of beat in this. And Devin decided, all right, he's not ready to go yet. So he started getting back behind the jab, working that spearing jab, throwing some good right hands, dipping underneath the and level changing every time Norman was just trying to throw the backhand left hook combination. It was honestly very amateur by Brian Norman through a lot of the fight. And contrary to what a lot of people have said, because I'm not going to go through round by round, like I ended up missing 4 rounds, as you guys would have seen on the stream, because my dog was needing to go out, which he kind of does now as well. So I'm kind of on borrowed time. But from everything I saw, Haney was just in very clear control of the fight. I didn't find the fight boring. I thought it was quite engaging. I thought Haney's tactics were good. I thought, if anything, the indictment would be on Brian Norman, the fact that the fight wasn't going or being as energetic as people wanted it to be, because Norman just ran out of answers. Every time he tried to do something, Haney either nullified it or just made him look slow and ponderous. Not to mention the fact, obviously, the nose was badly broken, busted, eye started to swell. It was just a really dominant performance. But like I said, there was obviously several rounds where I think Norman tried to rally back, and he probably had success in those rounds. So I wasn't able to fully score the fight at the end of it, but I had it 6-1 prior to having to leave. And by all accounts, I feel like a 117, 110 card, so maybe 9 rounds to 3 would have been appropriate. I think the highest that they gave was, I think there was one of the scorecards that actually had it 114, 113 to Devin, which ultimately means that they gave it a draw if it wouldn't have been for the knockdown. Now again, I missed 4 rounds, but even just based on my scorecard, I don't know if that would have been correct. I saw the last 2, and I had Devin winning those, or definitely at least the last one, which would have made it at least 7 rounds to 5. So yeah, I'm not sure, but look, the narrative that Haney's boring and he just doesn't want to engage and he runs all the time, like ultimately the narrative's got to stop now. Like, he didn't run in this fight. He stood when he needed to stand. He moved when he needed to move. He basically fought in a very, very similar way to the way that Terence Crawford did against Canelo. Obviously, Crawford did choose to stand in the pocket and trade on a couple of occasions later on in the fight, but he won the fight doing accurate punches, moving off the angle and not giving your opponent a chance to hit. Ultimately, people that are calling Devin Haney boring is because he's not getting hit. They're saying, oh, well, he's scared to engage. Well, if he's scared to engage, why did Brian Norman's face look the way it looked after the fight? No, he's engaging. He's just preventing you from hitting him back, which is supposed to be the point of boxing. You're not supposed to go in there and get lumped up. You're supposed to lump up your opponent and come out relatively fresh. So it's just a case that people are angry because he's won yet again. They're angry that the person they wanted to beat him didn't beat him, and not only couldn't beat him, didn't even look good in the fight. And when it comes to someone like, for instance, Eddie Hearn, big respect to Eddie, but him saying that, oh, it was a boring fight did nothing, he's got to improve, he's got to change. No, he's just trying to create separation between him and Conor Benn, him and Liam, what's his name, Lewis Crocker, and probably anyone else who he's got within the 147 division that could be at risk of either losing their belt or losing their status if they fight him. I feel like that's really what it is. Downplaying the performances so that you've got a reason to not take that fight should that fight come up. And yeah, like, I don't agree with it. I went back and watched a couple of live streams this morning, not all of them, but just specifically for that fight, just around the rounds where that happened, and then the end of the fight to see how people saw them. I looked at Ring IQ's live stream. I looked at the Pain Game live stream. I haven't got to Beats and Rhymes yet, but that's still going to be the next one that I'll be looking at. But obviously I feel like he'd probably be a lot fairer. But yeah, it was the same things because they wanted Norman to win. As soon as Haney won or he had that success, everything after that was, but you see, now he just doesn't want to go back onto, he just wants to go back onto the jab. He's got no heart. He doesn't want to finish the fight. This is just boring. This is and yeah, I'm sorry. The narrative, like, it's a crazy narrative. You need, like, give the guy his credit. You don't have to like him as a person, but respect that he's making your favorite fighters, or the fighters that you think are going to do whatever they're going to do, he's making them look average. He's taking away their best assets and just forcing them to look ordinary and not be able to compete at the level. Similar to the way Floyd used to, similar to the way that Shakur Stevenson does, and even similar to the way that Terence Crawford does, just without the added threat of normally getting knocked out, and knocked out quite badly at the end of it. But yeah, look, big ups to Devin Haney. Big ups to to Bill Haney as well. And commiserations to the other team. I do feel that Brian Norman is now going to lose that top rank contract that he just got, the new 5-fight deal he had. I think that's about to go, so it'll be interesting to see how his career can be resurrected. But he's young, so hopefully it will be a decent level. But I think either pro box will be in his future, or he'll be sort of a card to card type guy moving forward. And last but not least, because I got to get out of here, Anthony Yarde and David Benavidez. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. David Benavidez, he went a step better than I expected. I didn't expect the knockout, especially not as early as it was. I thought Yarde would be a little bit better than he was, but it looks like the weight and the weight making process is one thing. I don't think Yarde necessarily took the fight in the best of graces. I've always said that the level of opposition he's fighting has never prepared him for the top level when he gets up there. So even if he is making a good account of himself, that's not enough for him to actually get the job done and win at those levels. Yes, there are some elite and very, very, very tough world champions in this division, in this era, but you could have equipped yourself a lot better for those tasks had you have taken the correct steps beforehand. So with that, I'm going to say congratulations to David Benavidez. Exceeded my expectations, but I did expect quite comfortable victory. He's going up on the 2nd of May to fight Zurdo Ramirez at cruiserweight, which I told you guys he would do about 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago possibly. I think I even started talking about that from last year. I saw what the play was from early, right? So it's a good thing now that it's finally happened. So you guys, when I'm saying these things and I can see what's about to happen, like, trust me, even if it doesn't happen the moment I say it's going to happen, it happens. He's not going to come back from cruiserweight. I know that for a fact. But yeah, look, I'm going to have to leave it there. We'll talk more about this on Fight Talk Live on Tuesday. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the hype button. Thank you very much for watching. But until the next one, peace.